Good day everyone, I'm Mr. N and today I'll be teaching you on how to illustrate quadratic equations and identify its parts. Before that, let's have a review. This time, we're going to identify if a given equation is a linear equation or a quadratic equation. Now, if you're going to recall the definitions of the two, when you say linear equation, it is an equation with degree 1. When you say degree 1, the highest exponent among the terms of that equation is 1. When you say quadratic equation, it is an equation in degree 2, meaning to say degree 2, the highest exponent among the terms of that given equation is 2. Let's have this given equation. Quantity n minus 6 plus quantity n plus 6 is equals to 0. We have many kinds of equation, but this time we're just going to mention the two of them, the linear and the quadratic. Now, always remember, you should equate always a given equation to 0. So now, for us to be able to identify if it is quadratic or linear, we should simplify it first. And to simplify, we just need to multiply them. And to multiply them easily, we're going to use the FOL method. Listen carefully. F stands for first, meaning to say first terms. O means outer, meaning to say outer terms. I stands for inner, meaning to say inner terms. And L stands for last, meaning to say last terms. So that's the FOL method. Let's start. F, first terms. So the first terms of these two binomials are n and n. So meaning to say, we just need to multiply them. N times n is n squared. Next, O, outer. The outer terms are n and positive 6. So n times positive 6, that is positive 6n. Next, I, inner terms. So the inner terms are negative 6 and n. So multiply them. Negative 6 times n is negative 6n. Next, last but not the least, the last terms. The last terms are negative 6 and positive 6. So by multiplying them, we have negative 36. Always remember, if you're multiplying on like-signed integers, the result is always negative. So negative 6 times positive 6, the answer is negative 36, is equals to 0. And now let's simplify. Combining like terms. When you say like terms, meaning to say the variables and exponents of that term are the same, or of that terms are the same. So we have here 6n and negative 6n. As you can see, they both have variable n with same exponent as 1. So we should combine them. So 6n minus 6n is 0. So we have now n squared plus 0 minus 36 is equals to 0. Let's simplify further. Just remove the 0. So we have n squared minus 36 is equals to 0. So now, we already simplified the given equation. Now let's identify if it is quadratic or not. Let's find out what is the highest exponent among the terms of this resulting equation. Let's see. Oh, okay. What do you think? Very good. The highest exponent is 2, meaning to say the degree of this resulting equation is 2, meaning to say it is a quadratic equation. Let's have the next. Let's have 4 times the quantity 3x plus 8 is equals to negative 1. So let's multiply by distributing 4 inside the terms, or inside the parentheses. Inside the terms, sorry, inside the parentheses. So 4 times 3x, that is 12x. And then 4 times 8, that is positive 32, is equals to negative 1. Like what I said a while ago, you should equate the equation to 0. Okay? So this time, we should remove negative 1 on the right side. And to do that, we can just easily transpose. Take note of this. There is no such terminology as transpose in mathematical terminologies. The right way is by using the addition property of equality. But you can use the transpose terminology for shortcut purposes only. So, using the addition property of equality, we should add an opposite to negative 1. And the opposite of negative 1 is positive 1, right? So, let's add positive 1 on the right to remove negative 1, because when you add positive 1 to negative 1, the answer is 0, right? And since you add on the right side by addition property of equality, you should add also on the left. Okay. And now let's simplify. Combining like terms. Let's simplify first the terms on the left. So, 1 and 32 are like terms. They both don't have variable. So 1 plus 32 is 33. So we have now 12x plus 33 is equals to negative 1 plus 1, that is 0. Okay. So we already simplified the given equation. So now let's identify if it is linear or quadratic. What is the highest exponent in this equation? Okay, very good. The highest exponent is 1. So meaning to say, this equation is in degree 1, which is, it is a linear equation. Okay, very good. Let's have the next. Let's have quantity 2x plus 5 multiplied by quantity x minus 3 is equals to 0. Once again, for us to be able to identify easily if it is quadratic or not, we should simplify it first. To simplify, we're going to multiply it. And to multiply, we're going to use the fold method. F, first terms. The first terms are 2x and x. So multiply 2x times x, the answer is 2x squared. Next, outer terms. The outer terms are 2x and negative 3. By multiplying 2x times negative 3, the answer is negative 6x. Next, inner terms. The inner terms are 5 and x. So 5 times x, that is positive 5x. And last but not the least, the last terms, 5 and negative 3. 5 times negative 3, the answer is negative 15, is equals to 0. Now let's simplify by combining like terms. Negative 6 and 5, they both have variable x. So we should combine them. Negative 6x plus 5x, the answer is negative x. Okay, if you can recall the concept of addition of integers, if you are adding a like-signed integers, you should subtract. Okay? So in this case, we have negative 6 and 5. So ibig sabihin, ima-minus natin sila. And you should copy the sign of the integer with greater absolute value. And which of the two have the same, or has the greater absolute value? The absolute value of negative 6 is 6, and the absolute value of 5 is 5. And we all know 6 is greater than 5. So meaning to say, we will copy the sign of, or we will copy the sign beside 6. So we have now 2x squared and negative 6x plus 5x, which is negative 1x, or we can just simply write negative x. Okay, don't forget, if you can find a number beside a certain variable, meaning to say the number beside it is 1, okay? Negative 15 is equals to 0. Now we already simplified the given equation. We now have 2x squared minus x minus 15 is equals to 0. Now let's identify if it is quadratic or not. What is the highest exponent? Very good. The highest exponent is 2. So meaning to say, this equation is in degree 2. And it is a quadratic equation. Okay. Next, let's have 7y minus 12 is equals to 4y. Equate natin sa 0. So to equate that to 0, we should remove 4y on the right. So to remove that, we're going to add by its opposite. And the opposite of 4y is negative 4y. So we should add negative 4y on the right side. And since you add negative 4y on the right side, you should add also on the left by addition property of equality. So we have now negative 4y plus 7y minus 12 is equals to 4y plus negative 4y. And now let's simplify by combining like terms. Negative 4 and 7, they both have variable y. So we should combine them. So negative 4y plus 7y, as you can see, unlike sign sila, so negative 4 plus 7, we should subtract 7 minus 4 is 3. And which among the two, or between the two, has the greater absolute value? Very good, 7. So we should copy. Okay, so we should copy the sign, okay, beside 7. And the sign beside 7 is positive. So meaning to say, the answer is 3y. Just copy the common variable, y. Minus 12 is equals to 4y plus negative 4y, that is 0. So we already have now 3y minus 12 is equals to 0. What is the highest exponent? Very good, 1. Meaning to say, this resulting equation has a degree of 1. And it is a linear equation. Very good. Next, let's have 3 times the quantity 2x squared plus 5x is equals to 11. Once again, we should equate this equation to 0 by removing 11 on the right. So to remove that, we should add the opposite of 11 on the right. So the opposite of 11 is negative 11. Oh, I almost forgot. We should distribute first, no? 3 inside the parentheses. Okay. So 3 times 2x squared, that is 6x squared. And then 3 times 5x, that is 15x, is equals to 11. Now, it is the time for us to remove 11 because we already simplified the expression on the left. So, add the opposite of 11 on the right, which is negative 11. So, add negative 11 on the right. By addition property of equality, we should add also negative 11 on the left. Okay, and now, let's simplify by combining like terms. On the left, as you can see, we don't have like terms, only on the right. So, in this case, you need to remember this always. Always arrange the terms in a certain expression, especially in a given equation. No. based on the exponent from highest to lowest. So the term with highest exponent in the expression on the left is 6x squared. Ang exponent niya ay 2. So that's the highest exponent. Followed by the lower exponent, term with lower exponent, which is 15x, and then negative 11 is equals to 0. Okay? So let's simplify. As you can see, we have two signs na magkatabi, positive and negative. So let's just multiply them. Positive times negative is negative. Always remember, if you're multiplying a like sign, the result is always negative. Positive times negative is negative. So 6x squared plus 15x minus 11 is equals to 0. So now we already have the simplified form of the given equation. Let's identify if it is quadratic or linear. What is the highest exponent? Okay, very good. The highest exponent is 2. So meaning to say, this resulting equation is in degree 2 and it is a quadratic equation. We're done. Okay, so we're done reviewing the concepts of identifying if a given equation linear or quadratic. So let's have our lesson. So once again, I'll be teaching you on how to illustrate quadratic equation and identify its parts. Let's start by defining the quadratic equation. So quadratic equation in one variable is a mathematical sentence in degree 2. Meaning to say, the highest exponent among the terms of that equation is 2. And it can be written in a form or standard form as ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0, such that a, b, and c are real numbers, and a should not be equal to 0. What will happen if a is equal to 0? Let's see. If a is equal to 0, this time we're just going to substitute 0 as the value of a. So we have 0x squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. Simplify. We have 0 plus bx plus c is equals to 0, or bx plus c is equals to 0. So what is the highest exponent on the resulting equation? Okay, 1. Meaning to say, it has a degree of 1. And it is a linear equation, not a quadratic. So when a is equals to 0, it becomes linear equation. So a should not be equal to 0. Now let's have the standard form. Let's identify the parts of a quadratic equation. Ax squared is what we call quadratic term. Bx is what we call linear term. And c is the constant term. Okay? And a, b, and c are the numerical coefficients. Hindi ko lang naisama, pero yung variable, ang tawag dyan ay literal coefficient. Now let's have the first example. 2x squared plus 7x minus 11 is equal to 0. This time, we're going to rewrite equations, quadratic equations to be specific, in standard form. So let's check if this given equation, quadratic equation, is already written in standard form. So, kailangan ang standard form ay nakasulat mula sa quadratic term followed by linear term and constant term. So, let's check if this given equation already written in standard form. 2x squared, check, quadratic term. 7x, check, linear term. Negative 11, constant term, check. So meaning to say, this given equation is already written in standard form. And now, let's identify the numerical coefficients, the values of A, B, and C. So, yung A, makikita natin siya sa quadratic term. Yung B naman, sa linear term. And C, constant term. So, let's have the A first. A is 2. Okay? Beside x squared, the quadratic term. And then B, 7. Beside x from the linear term. And C, the negative 11. Okay, don't mind the S there, okay? It should be negative 11. Typographical error lang yan. Hindi ko na napansin. Okay. Any question? Very good. Let's have the next example. Example number 2. 8x times the quantity 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. Again, for us to be able to identify or rewrite this given equation into standard form, we should simplify first. So to simplify, we're going to distribute 8x to the terms inside the parentheses. Okay, para malaman din natin kung yan ay quadratic o hindi. Now let's distribute. 8x times 2x, that's positive 16x squared. And 8x times negative 3, that is negative 24x, is equals to 0. Okay, so we already simplified the given equation. Now let's see if it is a quadratic equation written in standard form. Okay, the highest exponent is 2, so meaning to say it is a quadratic equation. And let's see, yung pagkakasunod-sunod ng terms. First term, 16x squared. Okay, very good. Quadratic term. Next term, negative 24x. Okay, linear term. What about the constant term? Okay, very good. 0 kasi yung constant term, kaya hindi na siya nilagay dyan. So, meaning to say, it is a quadratic equation written in standard form. Hindi na natin siya babaguhin. So, yun na yun. 16x squared minus 24x is equals to 0. Quadratic term, linear term, constant term is equals to 0. And now, let's identify the value or the numerical coefficients, the value of A, B, and C. A can be found in the quadratic term, the numerical coefficient there, which is 16. And B can be found in the linear term, okay, beside x, which is negative 24. And C is the constant term. At kung makikita nyo, wala siya dyan, so meaning to say, C is equals to 0. Okay? Next, example number 3. Quantity 3x minus 1 raised to 2 is equals to 0. Okay. So, naka-standard form na ba siya? Okay. So, hindi pa. Because it is hard for us to identify which is the quadratic term and the linear term. Although, meron tayong exponent na 2. So, pwede nyo sabihin na quadratic term yan. Kaso nga lang, nasa loob ng parentheses ay may linear term. So, magulo. So, again, to easily identify, we should simplify it first. And to simplify, expand muna natin yan. So, when we expand it, we have 3x minus 1 times 3x minus 1, or quantity 3x minus 1 multiplied by the quantity 3x minus 1. Okay? Using the FOIL method, we have 3x times 3x, that is 9x squared. And then 3x times negative 1, that is negative 3x. And then negative 1 times 3x, that is negative 3x. And negative 1 times negative 1, that is positive 1, is equals to 0. And now, let's simplify by combining like terms. So, yung like terms dyan ay si negative 3x and negative 3x. So, let's combine them. The answer is negative 6x. Again, if you can recall the concept of concept of subtracting integers, we have the 3 easy steps, no, to subtract integers. K, the first step, it stands for keep the first. Second, F, meaning to say, flip the operation sign. And then last but not the least, C, it stands for change the sign of the second. Okay? So, we have negative 3x minus 3x. Kunin lang na muna natin sa negative 3 minus 3. Okay, so we have negative 3 minus 3. We have two terms, right? Negative 3 minus 3. Okay. Negative 3 is the first term. The operation is minus. And the second term is 3. So let's follow the step. Keep the first. The first term is negative 3. Next, flip the operation sign. From minus, it will become plus. Okay? And then, change the sign of the second term, which is 3, positive, it will become negative 3. So now we have negative 3 plus negative 3. So, in that case, you can apply now the concept of adding integers. Na kapag like sign, add the numbers, and copy the common sign. So, 3 plus 3, 6. The common sign is negative, so negative 6. So, negative 6x. Copy the common variable. So, we now have 9x squared minus 6x plus 1 is equals to 0. Let's check if it is written in standard form. Una-una, obviously, it is a quadratic equation. So, let's check kung naka-standard form na siya. 9x squared, quadratic term, check. Negative 6x, linear term, check. 1, constant term, check. So, meaning to say, it is a quadratic equation written in its standard form. 9x squared, quadratic term, linear term, constant term is equals to 0. Let's find the values of a, b, and c, the numerical coefficients. A can be found in the quadratic term, which is 9. And then b can be found in the linear term, which is negative 6. And the constant term is 1. Any question? None. Okay. Let's have example number 4. Quantity x minus 2 multiplied by quantity x plus 9 is equals to 0. Once again, para identify natin kung quadratic or not, i-simplify and then saka natin i-transform into standard form. So, to simplify, we're going to multiply the two binomials, x minus 2 and x plus 9. Using the FOIL method, we have x times x squared, and then x times 9, that is positive 9x, and negative 2 times x, that is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 9, that is negative 18. Okay? Multiplying unlike sign integers, the result is always negative. Is equals to 0. So combining like terms, 9 and negative 2, they both have variable x, so we should combine them. So we have now x squared, 9x minus 2x, 7x, positive 7x, minus 18 is equals to 0. So we already simplified the given equation. And now let's see if it is written in standard form. Let's check. X squared, quadratic term, check. 7x, okay, check. Linear term yon. And negative 18, constant term, check. So meaning to say, x squared plus 7x minus 18 is equal to 0 is a quadratic equation written in standard form. The quadratic term, the linear term, and the constant term is equals to 0. Let's find the numerical coefficients, the values of a, b, and c. So a can be found in the quadratic term, which is 1. Kapag wala kayo nakita beside the variable, meaning to say, ang coefficient niya o numerical coefficient niya ay 1. And then b can be found in the linear term, which is 7. And then the constant term, negative 18. Okay? Let's proceed to example number 5. It is a worded problem, but don't worry. We're just going to illustrate the quadratic equation and identify its parts. Let me read the problem. Jenny asked her father to construct a rectangular stage for her presentation in school. She wanted her stage to have an area of 48 square feet. Suppose that the length of the stage is 2 feet longer than its width. What equation would represent the area of the stage? Now, to solve this problem, we have 4 steps, 4 easy steps. And it is very helpful to solve problems. Okay? RESA. R stands for represent, E stands for equate, S stands for solve, and A stands for answer. Okay, so let's solve. Let's have the solution. So, example number 5, let representation muna tayo. Represent. So, we're going to have a representation from the givens in the equation. From the givens in the problem. So, let x be the width. Bakit naging x width? Okay, we use variable x to represent the noun of the basis. So, si width ang magiging basis natin because si length daw ay 2 feet longer sa width. So, ibig sabihin, to get the measure of the length, we should add 2 to the width. Kaya ang magiging basis natin ay si width. So, let x be the width. Okay? So, paano nga ulit makuha yung length? Mag-add lang tayo ng 2 sa width. So, meaning to say, x plus 2 be the length. And 48 square feet or feet squared as the area. Now, let's equate. Gagawa tayo ng equation. Ngayon, para makagawa tayo ng equation, kailangan nyo munang alalahanin kung paano gumawa out of the representation and the information given in the problem. Kung mapapansin nyo, gagawa si father ng rectangular stage. 'Di ba? And from the word rectangle, meaning to say, we're talking about here the area of a rectangle. And the formula to get the area of a rectangle is length times width. Very good. Buti na nang naalala nyo pa. So, length times width, it is equal to the area of a rectangle. And now, let's just substitute the details that we had in our representation or represent. So, length, x plus 2, and width, x, and the area is 48. Now, let's simplify. So, x times x, that is x squared, and 2 times x, that is 2x, is equals to 48. So, kailangan naka-equate siya sa 0. So, we should remove 48 on the right side using addition property of equality. We're going to add the opposite of 48. So, what is the opposite of 48? Negative 48. So, we should add negative 48 on the right side. And since you added negative 48 on the right, you should add also on the left by addition property of equality. So negative 48. And now let's simplify by combining like terms. So as you can see, we don't have like terms on the left, but we had on the right. So in this case, let's just arrange now the terms on the left from highest to lowest based on their exponents. So x squared, it is the term with highest exponent, and then followed by 2x, and then negative 48 is equals to 0. 48 plus negative 48 is 0. So let's simplify further by multiplying positive and negative. Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, magkatabi sila. So, positive times negative is negative. So, negative 48 and then plus 2x is equals to 0. And now, we already simplified the resulting equation from the problem. So, now, this is the equation. Ito na yung sagot sa problem natin. Ano yung representation o ano yung equation that can represent the problem? That is x squared plus 2x minus 48 is equals to 0. And now, nakasulat na ba siya in standard form? Let's see. X squared, quadratic term, check. 2x, linear term, check. Negative 48, constant term, check. So, meaning to say, this resulting equation is a quadratic equation written in standard form. Quadratic term, linear term, should be linear term here, and then followed by the constant equal to 0. And now let's have the numerical coefficients, the values of a, b, and c. Once again, a can be found in the quadratic term, b can be found in the linear term, and c is the constant term, negative 48. So a is equals to 1, b is equals to 2, and c is equals to negative 48. Do you have any questions? None. Okay, very good. That's all for today. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from this discussion. Thank you so much.